Hey everyone, how's it going? Thanks so much for tuning in. In today's video, we're continuing with the LS swap on my first generation Chevrolet S10. Specifically, this thing is a 1989 extended cab, two-wheel drive. I've been working on it for quite a while, as you long-term subscribers know. If you happen to have missed the last episode where I installed a complete Hooker Blackheart LS swap exhaust system, I put a link to it down in the description below. There's also a link to the entire S10 build playlist, so if you wanted to catch up on the series as a whole and see just how far this thing has come, the resources will be there. I really appreciate the support. But in today's video in particular, we're going to be installing a Holley mid-mount accessory drive system. Now, there's all sorts of different accessory drives out there for an LS. You've got high mount, you got low mount, you got mid mount, and different configurations. You can either buy a whole kit or piece something together yourself or use truck accessories minus other things. I mean, the possibilities are just about endless. It really just depends on how many accessories you're wanting to run and what kind of vehicle that you're going to be putting the motor into, because you do have to consider clearance stuff like with, frame rails and whatnot. But what's really cool about this mid-mount setup that I'll be installing today is that it is a 100% bracketless system. No spacers, no adapters, no nothing. Everything literally bolts onto this big water pump housing, which I'll show you guys in just a second. So it's going to keep things really clean. We're already working with an engine bay that really isn't that big to begin with, so it's going to increase serviceability along with just making things look nicer. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start unboxing some parts. Right quick before we get started, I just wanted to show you guys, this is what the mid-mount accessory drive looks like. Everything, like I said, is attached to the water pump housing. It's got some cool like LT1 style features in there, like the water pump itself and the alternator, but everything is super tight and compact. I will say this is a premium product compared to some of the other type accessory drive systems that you can get for LS motors. This one's a little over $2,000. I want to say the one I ordered was like $2,200 or something like that. So it's definitely expensive, but this is one of those instances where I truly believe, you get what you pay for, especially with these instructions. This is a really high quality booklet, all color-coded, exploded diagrams to show you exactly what you got to do, where to put things and whatnot. So if you're a visual person like myself, this is invaluable. I mean, this is really, really nice, but I am excited to see this come together. So let's go ahead and open up this first box, which should be the water pump housing. Is pretty much everything that's included with the kit. Hardware, all the main components, gaskets, all that good stuff. I am missing the serpentine belt, which isn't that big of a deal. It is nice because in the instruction manual, Holley has all of the individual part numbers for the components of this system. So if you need to replace something later down the line, whether it be an alternator or whatever, you've got the part numbers to be able to do that. So I just got the part number for the serpentine belt, called my local O'Reilly Auto Parts, cross-referenced it with a Gates number, so I'm gonna go pick that up in a little bit. But for now, let's go ahead and start getting this put together on the truck. With the water pump installed, it's time to go ahead and start installing the harmonic damper and crank pulley. Depending on which kit that you order, you can either have a SFI certified damper with a billet pulley or an OE style damper pulley like I ended up getting. It does come with a new crank bolt, a GM one. They are torqued to yield, so they're not reusable. I really like ARP stuff, so I ended up getting a crank bolt from them, which this is actually reusable, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I gotta go ahead and install this little tool, which I got on Amazon. It's supposed to hold the flex plate in place, so the crankshaft won't move while I'm trying to get this pressed on. So go ahead and get that installed, get this fitted, and get to work. I'm not sure if you guys can see how well this tool's in there, but it basically bolts into where the starter bolts, and then the teeth interlock with the flex plate. So we'll not only have a much easier time installing the harmonic balancer, but we'll be able to get that ARP bolt to 240 foot-pounds with no problem. Something else that's pretty cool when it comes to the heater fittings, you've actually got two sets, two up here, two down there. So depending on what kind of room that you're working with in your engine bay, it may make more sense for the heater hoses to come out the bottom or the side. With this configuration, I'm gonna put everything to the side because that'll kind of put everything like it all was originally, and just the two unused ports, get a couple plugs to seal them off. Now for the alternator. So for the power steering pump, it actually includes this 6AN adapter assembly. So I still need to be able to get some AN adapters for the steering box side. But once that's on, you can press on the pulley. I'm probably going to try to just put this pump on the bracket assembly first and then try to press it on just to give some more stability. But we'll see how it works out. Fast forward a few days, I've gotten some more stuff done on the truck, which feels really nice. I'll go over that stuff in just a bit, but now I'm gonna have to do a little bit of power steering modifications because unfortunately, just as I had feared, the power steering fluid reservoir is just a little too close to the steering gearbox. I'm installing fittings into the steering box to go from the metric threads to the AN lines. And this AN line in particular actually touches the back of the fluid reservoir to the point that when you start tightening everything down, it actually bows it out like this. I'm not sure if you can tell that that pulley right there is not in line with the others. It's just one of those things that you just can't predict. It looked really, really close and I was hopeful, but at the end of the day, we're just gonna have to pull this back off, remove this reservoir, and install a remote reservoir setup, which I'll install that on the fender or the core support or something later. But we can go ahead and install all the fittings and stuff to, have everything ready when the appropriate time comes. Holley actually recommends the use of their high mount accessory drive setup for LS swapping in S10, but I elected to do the mid mount setup just because I liked the look better. And I didn't realize this until I got it all together, but it perfectly matches the color theme of everything else that I've done to the engine already. The matte finish of the water pump housing matches the valve covers, the satin paint on the engine block matches the accessories and the pulleys, and everything just worked so well with each other. I'm very, very happy with it. Having to do this relatively minor modification right here is still extremely worth it to me to have the overall look perfectly come together. All right, here's what I ended up ordering. This is obviously the remote power steering reservoir from Holley. It is a satin black finish, fabricated design, aluminum. It's got baffles on the inside. That's gonna look really nice with my intake manifold. I'll mount that later. Has a bunch of fittings. It can actually work with a Hydro Boost setup, which is pretty cool. But if you're not running Hydro Boost, it comes with plugs. So I'm gonna be running all custom AN lines at some point. This is what I'm gonna install now. After I take off the original fluid reservoir, we'll put these adapters and stuff on it. And while I was at it, being that I already have that belt tensioner cover just to dress things up a little bit, I ordered the other matching covers to complete the set, including the alternator pulley as well as the AC compressor clutch cover. So it's all gonna look really, really nice. The accessory drive is now finished. I'm glad I went ahead and got those extra covers because it just ties everything together. Really, really happy with the overall look. If you look on the right side, you can see in more detail what I ended up changing. Obviously, we don't have that big plastic reservoir anymore, which I think actually cleans up this space quite a lot. I also have plenty of room for all of the AN lines that I'll be running for the power steering system. We've got the 2 that's coming off of the steering gearbox. There's a 10 AN line that's going to go up to the reservoir, and we have our 6 AN pressure fitting at the back right there. So super clean. It's really coming together. With all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about some of the other things that I've gotten done on the truck in the meantime while I was waiting on some of those parts. Like I talked about in the last video, I was going to switch up the whole interior layout of the truck to basically combat some of the fitment problems that I was having with the factory column linkage and whatnot, and I kind of just wanted to change up the style anyway. So here's where we're at right now. The low-car floor shifter is fully installed. I'll show you guys how that works in just a second. I also got the new steering column installed. This is from a manual transmission first generation S10, so we don't have the column anymore. This one is also a tilt column, so still have the comfort and convenience of that. These are kind of hard to come by, so I got real lucky finding one in a junkyard. The issue that I was having with my factory steering column is not the linkage itself, because I already had an aftermarket one in there for clearance with the previous swap. It was actually the little arm that sticks off the steering column that you attach the linkage to. Once I brought the column down, that arm would smack the valve cover and there was nothing I could do about it. So now that we have this manual transmission column, we don't have the arm anymore. There's a lot more room. I also went ahead and installed the Blackheart LS Swap steering shaft, which is an incredibly tight fit. I mean, through the headers and stuff, this is pretty normal, like S10 swap headers for this one to go around, but the precision of how that fits in there is pretty impressive. The other thing, I swapped out my brake booster for this, I think it's an 8-inch or a 9-inch, I can't remember, but more compact dual diaphragm brake booster, which freed up tons of space down underneath here. So I've got plenty of room for my coil packs and all of that stuff, and it does clean things up a little bit. Don't have quite so big of a booster there, but we're still gonna get good performance out of this, so it worked out good. Another nice feature of this water pump housing that I forgot to mention earlier is that it's actually got a provision on the back side to connect a steam port. So when I go to doing all of the steam port stuff across the valley, I don't have to worry about taking a line and going all the way up to my radiator. I can just connect it right there and keep things nice and clean. I think I'm gonna really like this shifter too. I'm a sucker for a column shift, but this is a pretty nice setup. Good and solid, not too far of a reach, positioned pretty much in the middle of the trans tunnel. It's got this shift lockout. I'm not, well, still not totally done with the adjustments, but it's getting there. Well everyone, that's going to wrap it up for this video. I hope you all enjoyed. Don't forget to leave a like down below because it really helps the video a lot. And if you haven't subscribed already, consider doing so because of course there's always a lot more content where that came from. I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.